Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Dana Haggard, Professor of Management and Curator of this video. This video is the second installment in the series on motivation and will cover what theory is and why motivation theory is important in the workplace. We will cover two specific theories in this video, expectancy and goal setting. Let's get started. Up to this point in the class, I have not really said much explicitly about theory. However, every concept we have talked about is based on a theory of human behavior. Students often have their doubts about theory and do not see the importance of theory when they are concerned about reality. I totally understand that, which is why before we talk further about motivation, I want to clarify what I mean by theory. Here are my traditional 3 bullet points on the definition of theory. The first definition I have here is as basic as it gets. According to the Collins Dictionary, a theory can be defined as a formal idea or set of ideas that is intended to explain something. The Cambridge Dictionary adds some clarity by adding that the explanation is a reasonable one and that it is especially used to describe a systematic or scientific explanation. According to the Free Dictionary, theory is a set of statements or principles devised to explain a group of facts, a phenomenon, especially one that has been repeatedly tested or is widely accepted and can be used to make predictions about natural phenomena. Notice the Free Dictionary includes the further details that the word theory is used to describe a potential explanation that has been tested repeatedly and that it can be used to make predictions. So when we talk about theory in an organizational behavior and leadership class, we are talking about potential explanations for people's behaviors that we can use to predict their future actions. If you don't like the word theory, just substitute the word model. As we talk about specific theories of motivation, it is important to understand that these theories are not mutually exclusive. In other words, people's behavior can be motivated by many things simultaneously, and no one explanation or theory will explain everything. A combination of these theories will explain and predict behavior better than any single theory, and the more you know about potential explanations, the better equipped you will be to predict and influence behavior. Multiple theories exist because human behavior is incredibly complicated, and since motivation theories can be used to help diagnose performance problems, the more theories we are familiar with, the more potential solutions we have at our disposal. A caveat to keep in mind as we go through this unit is that most theories we will discuss have been developed and tested in a Western context. When we talk about the factors that motivate people, we must keep in mind that a person's cultural values and context will influence their motivation, especially when it comes to the impact of external versus internal factors. As a quick reminder, motivation in the overall performance equation is a function of desire and commitment. There are many motivation theories that can be used to explain a person's desire and commitment to achieving a goal. However, we are going to focus on 6 in particular and how they can be used to create an effective motivation program and help to influence a person's desire and commitment to reach a goal. These 6 were chosen because of their broad applicability and the amount of research that provides supporting evidence of their explanatory and predictive power. In order to keep the videos to a reasonable length, we will only cover expectancy theory and goal setting theory in this video, and we will cover the remaining theories in a future video. The first theory of motivation we will cover is expectancy theory. We start with expectancy theory because it can be used as an overall framework in which other motivation theories can be nested. In other words, expectancy theory provides a foundation on which we can build a more comprehensive model of motivation with more explanatory and predictive power. Expectancy theory is most closely associated with Victor Vroom. His original article on the subject was published in 1964, and it outlines how important expectations and rewards are. As with our overall performance equation, expectancy theory is often expressed as an equation. According to expectancy theory, motivation is a function of expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. And as we know about zeros in multiplication, if any of these variables is 0, there will be 0 motivation. Expectancy is a person's belief that their efforts will result in achieving the level of performance required to receive an outcome. If they do not think that they will ever be able to put forth enough effort to reach the necessary level of performance, they are highly unlikely to try in the first place, and they will definitely not remain committed if faced with obstacles. The same can be said if they do not understand what efforts are required to achieve performance, or if the performance criteria is unclear. Instrumentality is the belief that the person will receive the promised outcome once they have achieved the required level of performance. In other words, if a person doubts that they will receive promised outcomes, even if they perform as required, then they are unlikely to put forth effort. The person must trust that the entity who has the power to deliver the outcome will actually deliver it. And lastly, we have valence. Valence is the person's expectations regarding the value or desirability of the outcome. If the person does not expect to value the outcome, then the person is unlikely to put forth effort regardless of their ability to perform and regardless of their trust that they will receive the outcome. Some variability in expectancy and instrumentality is expected from person to person, but the most variability tends to be among individuals' valence for a particular outcome. To use expectancy theory to explain poor performance and predict how to improve that performance, use the variables in the equation to ask a series of questions. To address expectancy, ask yourself, does the person have both the willingness and ability to put forth the effort required for performance? If the answer to that question is yes, great, move on to the next question. If the answer is no, you'll need to find out whether the issue is willingness or ability or both, and take steps to remedy those concerns. In other words, find out why they lack ability or why they are unwilling to engage in the behavior. The next question is, does the person trust that they will be rewarded for improved performance? If the answer is yes, great, move to the next question. If the answer is no, you need to find out why they do not trust either their manager or their organization to deliver the reward. Repairing trust can be a very difficult thing, but if it can't be restored, then the person has no reason to put forth the effort to perform because they believe that no matter how hard they work, never be given the reward that they have earned. A third question to ask is the reward for performance sufficiently valuable to the person for them to be committed to receiving it? This is where there can be a high degree of variability in what each person sees as valuable. Some tailoring of the reward should be used, but keep in mind that while it is fine to have different rewards depending on the person, the rewards need to be seen as equivalent so that you do not leave yourself open to accusations of playing favorites. As an example of the different valence people might have for an object or a reward, here's an example from my own life. I am often asked to review textbooks or books by authors who are experts in their field, and the publisher offers me the chance at a $100 gift card in exchange for my time in completing this particular task. Now, back when I was an undergraduate and I was making minimum wage, that would have been enough for me to invest, say, 5 or 6 hours to do that for that $100. However, now I'm a professional, I get paid a professional wage, and I have many demands on my time. So even if I was guaranteed that $100 gift card, it still wouldn't be worth it to me. So the fact that it's just a chance at the possibility of getting $100, that's just not going to incite any desire or commitment on my part to complete that task. I'm sure many of you probably have other examples of when you were offered an outcome or a reward, but you really weren't that excited about the reward. I'd love to hear about those in your posts on the course commentaries. Let's move on to goal setting. Goal setting theory is most closely associated with Edwin Locke and Gary Latham. Goal setting theory argues that goals enhance performance because they mobilize our efforts, direct our attention, and encourage persistence and strategy development. Goal setting theory has perhaps the most consistent empirical support, meaning research has provided evidence that it can explain and predict behavior. Notice that I said it can. That doesn't mean it always does. I have often told my seated students that the magic answer to most management questions is, it depends. This can be said of all of the motivation theories and whether they can explain and/or predict. In addition, goal setting has been shown to be particularly effective for people who are high in conscientiousness, and the evidence is strong that people with goals outperform those without. There are three key components to goal setting theory. The first is the goal setting process. According to goal setting theory, the process of setting goals should be participative, meaning that the person should have some input in deciding what their performance goals should be. Giving the person a say in the goal increases their commitment to the goal. The second key component has to do with the characteristics of the goal itself. We have already talked about SMART goals, and goal setting theory shares many of the same characteristics. According to goal setting theory, effective goals are specific, measurable, appropriately challenging, and of course they need to be time-bound. In addition, if multiple goals are established, they should be consistent and compatible with one another. Conflicting goals lead to confusion, frustration, and loss of desire and commitment to achieve the goal. Evidence on goal setting theory shows that people who set specific, challenging goals outperform those who have vague, general goals like do your best. A valuable side note when it comes to considering the level of challenge of the goal. It is important to understand how a manager's expectations can affect their employees' levels of performance. Have you ever heard of the Pygmalion or Golem effects? The basic finding is that a subordinate's performance corresponds to the expectations of the supervisor, whether that be a teacher in a classroom or a manager in a business. Higher expectations lead to higher performance, and lower expectations lead to lower performance. This phenomenon was first observed in the classroom, but research has shown it can apply to the employment relationship as well. The last component is feedback. Feedback is necessary to clarify expectations, to adjust goals if necessary, and to provide recognition. Each of these things help the person to maintain their desire and commitment to achieving the goal. And don't wait to provide recognition until the annual performance review. Acknowledge good performance whenever you see it. So, what are the questions we can use to diagnose performance issues related to goal setting? First, ask the question, does the goal setting process allow for employee input? Did the person have any say in setting the goal, or was it set for them without discussion? If they were not consulted, why not? If it is possible to sincerely include the person in the process, they should be. Otherwise, they may think the goal is unreasonable or unattainable, and thus unfair, so they will lack the desire or commitment to achieve it. Not all positions are conducive to collaborative goal setting, but if it is, you should use it. The second question is, do the goals that the person was given meet all the criteria for being effective? Go through the list and see which characteristics might be lacking. The performance issue may be due to a lack of goal clarity or appropriateness. If the problem is with the goal, make necessary adjustments. And lastly, has the person been receiving accurate, encouraging, and timely feedback? It is unfair to an employee to wait to provide clarification on a goal or on their performance until after it is too late for them to make changes. If there is a problem, it is best to address it as soon as it is recognized as a problem. And now some questions for self-reflection. How might personality impact a person's thoughts on expectancy? Have you ever worked for a company where instrumentality was lacking? How might a person's values and personality impact the valence of rewards? Can you think of a time when you had a goal set for you without having any input? How did that make you feel? How can you make sure that the goals you set for yourself and others meet the criteria of an effective goal? How do you prefer to receive feedback, and how often? How might they differ for other people? And how are concepts from goal setting nested in the expectancy equation? That concludes this installment on motivation and performance. If you have any questions about the topics in this video, please post them to the Student Questions discussion board in Blackboard. Chances are, if you have a question, someone else has that question too. If you are intellectually curious and would like to learn more, please stay tuned for the sources and additional resources for this video. Thank you for watching.